These wins are called insurance policy wins. It doesn't matter how you win them. It's all and only about winning them. This is what the Warriors failed to do last year.
I think if he was at Melbourne, he would surpass Greg Inglis. I think he's that type of talent. You go right back to his Sydney City days and you wonder why they let him go, because he's the type of bloke that wins your competitions.
Someone suggests that because I don't support the Warriors,
they
have a
question your
moustache, that I
sexuality.
might like men instead of women, which was a bit interesting.
Welcome to the DSPN.
He's given him. Oh, there you go. He was forward.
Oh, a punch up now in midfield. Fraser's involved.
The Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome to the podcast, people. Martin Devlin, Lachlan Waugh. BLT, it's not bacon, lettuce, tomato, it's Big League Tuesday. So we're talking NRL and looking back at round number 10. Tony Kemp in the studio with his thoughts to start with. Zane the Warrior Holic going to join us. Was 7-2. That equals best ever start in any year. 30 years in the comp. Matt Gunn on the back of his Bulldogs scoring 32 unanswered points against the Canberra Raiders. What a win that was. So many different aspects to the round to knuckle down and get our teeth into. As well as that, we'll do glass half full. And Lachlan can explain exactly where his Broncos are at. If you are listening to us, Rover, or across Spotify, Google, Apple Play, the full podcast is available every day on that, the show, and then we slice and dice into bite-sized chunks for you to watch at your convenience on the DSPN YouTube channel. Now, if you can click that subscribe button, it does help. Yes, I know I ask this a lot, but it really does. It means an awful amount to us. It helps our sponsors, and not only that, it means we can continue to provide all of this for free. So click that subscribe button for us. We're closing in on 1 million views in just 23 weeks of doing this podcast, and so we're very grateful for your support. Leave us a comment as well. Feedback Friday Comment Corner is coming back this week, and we appreciate all of that. We begin the show.
Marty sermons brought to you by WebWonks. Generate online leads with WebWonks. Doctors for your Google data.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
It's rugby league, mate. What do we learn from round 10? Well, at least 3 separate things. Number 1, the Bulldogs are serious grand final contenders. And I know it may seem a little obvious to say that, especially if you've just flown in from Mars, glance at the points table and see that they're 8-1. Yes, they've been one of the comp's best sides this year, but have also shown enough frailty, certainly glimpses of, that doubts did legitimately remain about them. And those doubts specifically around their squad depth, given that they do and have done and probably will continue to do so, test that depth more than most teams this year, with injuries that are probable and likely. Every team gets them. But more importantly, the suspensions, for which they seem almost inevitable for this Bulldogs side. That second half comeback versus a rampant Canberra, themselves experts at similar sort of second half heroics, and remember, who had just won 5 in a row. I thought that second half was as good as any 40 minutes from any team all year. Storm versus Warriors first half springs to mind. Brisbane versus Dogs. Those two especially. Brilliant 40 minutes of football, them both. Canberra were playing at home before a record 10-year crowd, and they were up 20-0 at half-time. That was the ultimate test for the Bulldogs, and not only did they pass it, they overtook it on the outside, gave it the stink finger, doubled down on the horn and said, yes, we're that team now. Move out of the garage, pal. It's ours. You're parking on the lawn. Point number 2, the Warriors are in. Now, I said this last week, and it's only been further reinforced with another brilliant result. Not a brilliant performance, but a brilliant result versus St George. And look, it wasn't pretty. We know that. It wasn't complete. We know that. Far from it. Sure. Okay. If it was all and only all about the way that you play, well, I mean, you'd get points for that, wouldn't you? But you don't. You get points for winning. Every win in this competition is vital. Every 2 points is hard earned. And it's those results, the grinding results away from home, a 1-point field goal smash and grab. These are the ones that count most come the back end of the season. 7-2 after 10 rounds is exceptional. I think probably better than anyone at the club genuinely hoped. They got a buffer now, the Warriors, created a little gap that means they can sustain the odd loss and not lose anything position-wise inside the top 6 as a result of doing so. These wins are called insurance policy wins. It doesn't matter how you win them. It's all and only about winning them. This is what the Warriors failed to do last year. Remember, they lost 6 games by less than a try. This year already, they've won 4 by a try or less. It says everything. And have done so also weathering a whole heap of injuries that would be testing any club's squad depth. Well done, the Waz. Deserve to be second. You don't just get second. You got to earn second. They deserve to be second. And point number 3, Lachlan, the Broncos are cooked. I'm calling it now. You were 4-1, now 5-5. 4 losses in 5. And yes, they did beat the Bulldogs, and they did so handsomely, but that's an outlier. That is the glitch in the matrix. This team doesn't have a heart. So much for new coach Madge Maguire shoveling out the rock star mentality. These guys are the classic case of a team believing its own hype, stacked with individual talent, but frustrating as hell, I'm sure, for coach and fans of the team alike, unable to meld themselves into a team. They should be disappointed. To whom much is given, much is also expected. The Broncos are the New South Wales Waratahs of the NRL, the flat track bullies. Turn the Barbie off, Bev. You're done, mate.
Devlin.
Big League Tuesday continues with your favourite feature, Lachlan.
Glass half full.
It's where I present a few scenarios to you and situations, and you tell me whether you're glass half full, glass half empty. Yes! Well, you came back from Magic Round and then you got the flu. Is that a direct result of being at Magic Round?
Maybe.
I think maybe means yes.
Well, on the last day, I was feeling a little bit under the weather. And
Well,
then
I mean, when you're on the rantan for 4 days, your immune system goes on you, doesn't it? You're then in a plane where everyone's breathing and foaming and then flu and all of that, you know.
Because we took off, when we left, we took off at like 11:30 Brisbane time, landed at 4 a.m. New Zealand time.
There you go.
You don't get any sleep.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
So,
oh, Lord, this is a close environment. Glass half full, your Broncos.
I've been glass half empty for about 3 or 4 weeks. Now, it
couldn't be 3 or 4 weeks because your record is 1-1 lost 1-1. So after the Dogs, you were full.
I can't remember what I was after the before the Warriors lost. I was certainly glass half empty after the. No, I was glass half empty because we lost to the Roosters. I was definitely glass half empty after the Warriors game. In the Bulldogs game, I was middle. I hadn't decided what I was yet because I wasn't going to be swayed by recency bias. And then since then, I've been glass half empty because they've been embarrassing. Look, you'll do your best to spin it that I defend this team and that I pump their tyres up and that I've got Broncos tinted glasses on. I think I've been pretty damn impartial with this team all year, saying the potential is great, but they've got to prove it. They've actually got to work and win. They're not. I've
been solid in my argument that they're flakes, that they're a nightclub team right from the start of the season, and I'm being proved right now.
Yeah, because you're just jealous of all the talent we have. But
we'll put it together on the field.
No, but I agree. You know, you can have all these wonderful ingredients to whip up this wonderful meal, but it only tastes good if you can cook it.
That's it.
They're not cooking.
No, imagine not cooking.
No.
Enough on the Broncos, mate. You're also ran team. You're not in the conversation anymore.
See, now you're just getting personal.
Warriors.
Glass half full. Again,
and you have been for a couple of weeks.
Again, yes. Despite the commenters on your videos on social media and YouTube suggesting,
you do rile a few.
Someone suggested that because I don't support the Warriors,
they
have a
question your
moustache that I
sexuality.
might like men instead of women, which was a bit interesting.
And people get so irate at Lachlan because he's not a Warriors fan. You're allowed to be. Look, half of the people who love rugby league in this country don't support the Warriors. They support teams they supported before the Warriors came.
Fans there.
Jeez. I was a Balmain fan. Okay, and then we merged and decided I'm going to patch over to the Warriors because I hated West Tigers, or West so much.
Western suburbs,
I didn't want to be part of that. I'm a Balmain fan, so.
But I think I've been
pretty. Whatever bloody team you want, mate.
I think I've been pretty fair with how I've judged the Warriors over the last few weeks because they're winning games. That's all that matters. Some of them have been a bit ugly. Some of them have been very good and wonderful to watch.
Well, I think they've played well in patches in every game, and then there's been parts of the games where it's just gone. But that's what the game is, isn't it?
There's two ways to look at it. You can look at it by the numbers and look at where they are on the table. The number of games they've won. They've beaten a good chunk of teams that either were in the top 8 last year or are in the top 8 right now. So that's tough competition. And you also can't help who you play. You just got to beat what's in front of you.
I don't buy into the soft.
Yes, there's no point in ever really bringing that up. But you can look at that and say there's nothing to complain about at all with the Warriors. Now you can try and be some oracle of rugby league and act like a mastermind of the sport, which I most certainly am not, and I'm sure you're the first to say that you're not either.
No,
I'm pretty sure every blimmin' fan out there who hasn't coached or played the sport is in that boat as well.
We're allowed to be when we're sitting there watching it, yelling at it.
But you could sit there and try and unpack how good the Warriors are really playing. That's up for debate. All that matters is that they're winning games.
That's all that matters, mate. Raiders 1-5, won the first half. Right up until then, that glass is overflowing, right? And then the second half against Canterbury. What a leveler that is. Are they full, or are you full or empty or half full?
I don't know how to judge the Raiders. To be honest, I wasn't really jumping on their wagon too much even after the Storm win because they do this every year. They'll look brilliant against some teams, they'll look poor against other teams. Ricky Stewart's side seemed to, I remember when he coached the Sharks, they were a little bit like this. I think one year they were a top 4 side, and then 2 years later they were like a couple of points off the bottom of the table, and I think he lost his job. And he had a terrible run at Parramatta, goes to Canberra, and they make a grand final one year, and then the next year they finish 10th or whatever. So they just do this, Canberra, under Ricky Stewart. So they can go on these runs and win games, but they often can't stick it together for 5, 6, 7 in a row. They did win 5 in a row, but then, that second half against the Bulldogs was a total contrast to what they did in the first half. So
okay, well, let's talk about that Dogs then, glass half full, glass half empty, because after that first half, you'd be wavering, and for good reason. They didn't get the ball. They didn't have any stats at all. They looked completely overawed and outplayed, and they just looked as though they were lost. And then, you get a 10-minute break at half-time, you come back, and the other Bulldogs side turned up.
Yeah, not as much as the Broncos lost, but it was similar to that, and the Dogs didn't have much ball, and because they didn't have much ball, they seemed to not be able to defend for long stretches, because obviously the Broncos ran out to a massive lead in that first half a couple of weeks ago, and then just on the weekend the Raiders ran out to a big lead. So the Bulldogs, I don't know, they're a great defensive side, but when they don't have any ball, they tend to leak in tries.
These are the new rules, aren't they? I just think this is what the 6 again does and everything else. All of a sudden, you can just...
Well, the 6 again's been doing this for years. The 6 again's been doing this for years, where it creates these massive momentum swings, but the swings last a long time.
Yeah. 8 or 9, 10 minutes defending sucks the life out of every team, right?
Yeah, so I don't really like 6 again's, especially when 3 or 4 of them pile up. Once you get to a second one, just give a penalty. But I think the Bulldogs are a top side, and they proved that. And when they get going, they're impossible to break down. And they really suffocate teams with the way they pin them down in their own half. They have that defensive pressure, and their attack can get going. But that's 2 games now where in the first half they weren't perfect against Gold Coast in a Magic round. But 2 games now where they've just kind of let the first half get away from them a little bit. I don't know if it's
in the finals game.
Well, I don't know if it's a mental. You can't do that against Melbourne.
No.
And I think they'll probably get there eventually. I'm not sure, but you can't do that against Penrith if you face them in the finals as well.
Let's take it from the 6th spot down to the 11th spot. You've got Cowboys on 11, 5 teams sitting there on 10 points. Broncos, Eagles, Tigers, Roosters, Rabbits. So glass half full, glass half empty. I'm just going to go through this, and you're going to tell me whether these teams are making the 8. Cowboys.
I don't know.
Well, this is it. They're 4-1-4.
There's a few that I'm happy to say yes or no. I just don't know about the Cowboys.
Broncos, 5-5.
Well, I can say yes, but then I'm labelled, a bias.
Of course, that's
media,
because you
whatever,
are. You're a biased Broncos fan.
So I'll find every reason under the sun. Okay, I can give you a proper answer from the Broncos in a week or so once I've seen Ezra Mann play.
Sea Eagles are 4-5.
They're not making the top 8.
Tigers are 5-5.
They're not making the top 8.
Roosters are 4-5.
Maybe.
Yeah, now I copped it all from the very start of the whole season by saying that I thought this team would actually do something this year. They're hanging tough. They're not a great side, but the young players are playing okay. 4-5 is okay. Rabbits 5-5.
I think so. Actually, the Rabbitohs.
Glass half full.
So maybe the
glass
Broncos
half
don't
empty.
make it then.
On our Sharks.
Who
you load on every year. You load on the Sharks. Oh, they're fraud. They're false. They got it.
What's their record?
6-4. They're sitting in
6-4.
Yeah. Okay, but they're still there in the top 6, mate.
If the Sharks and the Warriors played in a finals game, take your Warriors hat off. Who would you back to win it?
Well, I'd be worried.
Obviously, it would depend where it's played.
Yeah.
If it's in New Zealand, the Warriors probably win it.
I'd just be worried what Sharks side turns up. Because on their day, I don't think that they're good enough to beat Melbourne and Canterbury if Melbourne and Canterbury play their best. But on their day, if they play really well, the Sharks, I think they're probably capable of beating the rest.
Day.
Yeah, but that's it. That's it. Who knows?
You can say that about a lot of teams. On their day, Brisbane can beat anyone.
But the thing is,
what is their day?
Over years, over
the
the last couple of years, 2 or 3 years, the Sharks have been there, haven't they? They've been top 4.
Yeah, but they've always fallen...
Apart from last year,
they've fallen at a hurdle. Yeah, last year. I mean, they obviously made the top 4, but they've sort of fallen short of expectations. I mean, no one really thought they'd be as good as they were in 2022, but then they finished second and then ended up losing both finals games. Then a year later, they host a finals game against the Roosters. This is in 2023. And they lose it. And then last year, that's why everyone starts to doubt them.
Exactly, that's fair.
But, I don't think they are good. They're not a Melbourne. They're not a Penrith. We're really stretching the reality of this with Penrith. But they're not one of those sides where they can have a poor start to a season or not win as many games as they should be winning, and us still sit here and go, don't worry, when it comes final time, they can turn it on.
Did you see that try, though, where Adam Whanua-Blake gets the ball running full tit about a metre from the line?
No.
And Delhi Cherry Evans he goes to kind of get in. Fanua Blake just kind of just pats his hand out of the way. It's just like, stop it, mate. Don't even bother trying to look as though you're trying. How are you meant to stop a man like that close to the line? Do you just do the old, you got a ball, you got the red flag,
just move to the side. Just go nuts.
Just wave him through. Yeah, I think just wave.
But that's a talented team to only be 6-4.
Yeah.
Isn't quite good
Glass
enough.
half full, glass half empty, 2 to go. Panthers!
I don't know. I said about a minute.
They looked really good at times against the Cowboys, and then they concede 30 points.
At times.
Yeah.
I said a minute ago that I think they'll still make the top 8, which, I don't know.
2 to go. Glass half full, glass half empty. On that moustache now, it's been called into question by the comments.
Yeah. Glass half full, because the fact that people don't like it.
Okay, it stays.
So I don't care what you think about it and what it suggests about
Well,
my
it's got some
sexuality.
meat to it. It's got some meat to it. If you're going to grow one, grow a Tom Selleck, I always think, right? Grow the traffic cop moustache. This is tracking back to when we used to have traffic cops back in the 70s and 60s and 70s and 80s and things. Get some meat on it. I don't like these sort of 22-year-old ones, which are just a hard little sort of
or the little
tiny
blonde
little
bum
caterpillar.
fluff
No.
ones.
It's got some meat to it.
You've
But
got to actually
leave a
have
comment
some,
in the comments about, finally, glass half full, glass half empty, magic round. It was glass half full when you came back, and then magic round caught up with you.
Yeah, it did catch up with me. Glass half full, still. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Yeah. Well, the problem is that you just have 3 or 4 straight days of...
Oh, that's just on it.
You're on it. But you don't sleep. That's the worst one.
Okay.
If you slept, you'd be fine.
Well, you can't sleep because the moment some other farter in the room wakes up, you're up, aren't you? And the first guy that wakes up is cracking another one, and he's going yelling at you.
Because I'm staying on the couch as well in the lounge. So the moment that someone wakes up, like on the last morning, one of the boys had to go to Perth because that's where he lives, but he had a really early morning flight. We didn't fly out till that night. I'm lying on the couch, and I'm right by the front door because it's a small Airbnb. And then I sort of get this sort of tap on the chest, like, "Oh, see you, Lachie." I was like, "Jeez."
Oh, sorry. Oh, mate. You could have...
It was like 5 a.m. I'm like, I don't need to get up for hours. He's just woken me up. Anyway, that's the worst part. When you get to bed at 3 or 4 a.m. and you wake up at about, 8 or 9, like, you can handle it for a couple of days. But then when you get back home and go straight into work...
And is there any chance when you're on tour with a few lads like that if you decide, hey, look, no, guys, we had a big one last night, we had a big one the night before, I'm just going to take it easy today. I'm going to go down the health bar, I'm going to get a juice, I'm going to sell it up, and I'll probably just...
Oh no, they're pretty good in that sense. I think on our last day, one of the boys just bought a salad for lunch.
And he thinks that's going to make him healthy after 3 or 4 days on the piss.
Well,
honestly, if I eat some lettuce, I'll feel so much better.
It's the perfect representation of man. So if it's a woman, you're eating these salads and you're strengthening your immune system before the trip. You're making sure you're in good stead because you're smart. If you're a man, you're not doing that. You're like, I'll deal with it later. And then when you start to feel sick, geez, all right, I better start eating healthy now. Well, it's too late. It's too. You've already ruined your body.
We're just stupid, aren't we? We're just stupid.
My old man says that men think 5 minutes ahead and 5 minutes before, whereas women think like 5 years ahead and 5 years before.
Good advice from the old man there.
Yeah.
This is the DSPN.